The night I met the girl who was supposed to be my blind date, she was standing on the side of a dark highway, yelling at her car like it had just ruined her life. I did not know she was my date yet. All I knew was that I was already late, my phone battery was almost dead, and I had promised my sister I would not cancel this one. She had set me up with her friend from work. She said the girl was kind, smart, and tired of meeting the wrong guys. I told her I was tired too. That was how I ended up driving toward a small diner outside of Austin on a warm Friday night, nervous like a teenager. About 10 miles from the diner, I saw flashing hazard lights ahead. A small white sedan was parked on the shoulder. The hood was up. A girl stood next to it with her hands on her hips. Even in the dark, I could see her long brown hair moving in the wind. She looked frustrated and completely alone. I do not know why I slowed down. Maybe it was the way she kicked the tire. Maybe it was because I know cars. I work at a repair shop in downtown Austin. Fixing engines is the one thing I am confident about. Or maybe it was just the thought of leaving someone stranded at night. I pulled over. As soon as I stepped out of my truck, she turned toward me. Her eyes were wide at first, like she was deciding if I was a threat or help. I raised both hands a little and gave her a calm smile. "Car trouble?" I asked. She let out a short laugh. "You think?" Quote, her voice was soft but sharp at the same time. She looked stressed, but there was something strong about her. She did not look scared, just annoyed. I walked closer and looked under the hood. "Mind if I take a look?" She stepped aside. "Be my guest. It just died. No warning." I was already late. I felt that word hit me. Late. So was I. "What is your name?" I asked, trying to keep things normal. "Emma," she said. "And before you ask, yes, I called roadside assistance. They said it will be at least an hour." Emma. I do not know why, but her name felt familiar. I leaned over the engine and turned on the flashlight from my phone. I checked the battery first. Loose cable. I pressed it down and tightened it with a small wrench I keep in my truck. I asked her to try starting the car. She slid into the driver's seat. The engine tried to turn, then went quiet again. "Okay," I said, "not just the battery." She stepped out and crossed her arms. "This night is a disaster." I smiled. "It can still be saved." She looked at me like she did not believe that. While I checked the starter and a few other things, we talked. She told me she had just moved to Austin 3 months ago. She works in marketing. She said she does not usually go on blind dates, but her coworker insisted. My heart skipped. "Blind date?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She nodded. "Yeah, some guy named Jake. Supposed to meet him at Rosie's diner at 7. It is already 7:30. He probably thinks I stood him up." My hand froze for a second under the hood. "My name is Jake." I felt the world tilt in a strange way. The dark highway, the soft wind, the girl standing next to me, the diner 10 miles ahead. "Jake, huh?" I said carefully. "Yeah," she said. "Do not tell me you know him." Quote, I wiped my hands on a rag and looked at her fully for the first time. She was beautiful, but not in a loud way. Her eyes were deep brown, almost golden under the streetlight. There was a small crease between her brows from stress. She looked real. Honest. "I might," I said slowly. She raised one eyebrow. "That does not sound good." I laughed softly. "It depends." I walked to the front of the car and leaned against it. My heart was beating faster than it should have been. I had imagined meeting my blind date inside a bright diner, shaking hands awkwardly, maybe spilling water on myself. I did not imagine meeting her like this, with grease on my hands and her car half taken apart. "Emma," I said, "what if I told you that I am Jake?" She stared at me. At first, she did not react. Then she blinked. Then she actually laughed. "Nice try," she said. "You just made that up." "I did not," I said. "My sister Lily works with you. She set this up." Her face changed slowly. The confidence faded into surprise. "Lily Thompson." I nodded. She looked at my truck, then back at me, then down at the engine. "You are kidding." "I wish I was," I said. "This would be a very strange joke." For a few seconds, we just stood there in silence. The only sound was cars passing by. "So you are telling me," she said finally, "that my blind date pulled over to fix my car before I even met him? That seems to be what happened." She covered her face with both hands and let out a long breath. "This is so embarrassing." "Why?" I asked gently. "Because I was just complaining about you to a total stranger." I smiled. "That is fair. I was nervous too. I almost turned around twice on the way here." She lowered her hands and looked at me in a different way now, not like I was a stranger, not like I was just a guy helping with her car. There was something softer in her eyes. "Well," she said, "this is definitely not how I pictured tonight." "Me neither," I admitted. I walked back to the engine. "Let me try one more thing." As I worked, I could feel her watching me, not in a weird way, just curious. I checked the fuel line and noticed it was clogged. I cleaned it quickly and told her to try again. She turned the key. The engine roared to life. She gasped, "Oh my God, you fixed it." I closed the hood and smiled at her. "Guess our date is back on." She stepped out of the car slowly, like she was seeing me for the first time all over again. "You saved my night," she said quietly. The way she looked at me right then made my chest feel tight. Not because she was my blind date, not because I fixed her car, but because in that dark moment, on the side of the highway, it felt like something bigger had just started. And I had no idea how much this random breakdown was about to change my life. We stood there for a moment, with the engine still running, both of us smiling like we had just shared a secret no one else would understand. The headlights lit up the empty highway, and the wind felt softer now. It was strange how a broken car had turned into something that felt almost magical. Emma leaned against her car and looked at me with a small smile. "So, this is our first impression of each other," she said. "Me yelling at my engine and you covered in grease." I laughed and looked down at my hands. "Yeah, not exactly smooth." "I kinda like it," she said. "It feels real." That word stayed with me. Real. I had been on dates before. Most of them felt forced. Two people trying too hard to impress each other. But this did not feel like that. We had already seen each other stressed, messy, and late. There was nothing to hide. "Do you still want to go to the diner?" I asked. She tilted her head and thought for a second. "Yes, but I think we should drive together." "Together?" She nodded. "What if my car dies again?" "I trust you more than it right now." The way she said that made something warm move through me. Trust is not something people give easily, especially not to someone they just met on the side of a highway. "Okay," I said. "We can take my truck." She grabbed her purse from her car and locked it. As she walked toward my truck, the streetlight caught her face. She looked calmer now. The stress lines were gone. There was a soft glow in her eyes that had not been there before. When she climbed into the passenger seat, I suddenly felt nervous again. Fixing her car had been easy. Sitting this close to her was not. The drive to Rosie's diner took about 10 minutes. Inside the truck, it was quiet at first. Not awkward, just quiet in a new way. The radio played softly in the background. I could smell her perfume, light and fresh. "So," she said, breaking the silence, "tell me something about you that is not about cars." I smiled. "That is hard. Cars are kind of my thing." "Then try harder," she said, teasing. I thought for a moment. "Okay. I lost my dad when I was 16. He owned the repair shop I work at now. I kept it running after he passed. It was not easy, but it felt right." She looked at me carefully, like she was listening with more than just her ears. "That explains a lot." "Like what?" "You do not just fix cars, you take care of things." Her words surprised me. I had never thought about it like that. I just did what needed to be done. "What about you?" I asked. She looked out the window for a second before answering. "I moved here because I needed a fresh start. My last relationship was not good. I stayed longer than I should have. When it ended, I promised myself I would not settle again." Her voice was steady, but I could hear something under it. Pain, maybe, or strength built from it. "You deserve better than that," I said without thinking. She turned to look at me. Our eyes met, and for a second, the world felt smaller, like it was just us inside that truck. "That is what I am hoping," she said softly. We pulled into the diner parking lot. The neon sign glowed red and blue against the dark sky. I parked and looked at her. My heart was beating fast again, but not from nerves this time. It felt different, stronger. Before we got out, she touched my arm lightly. "Jake." "Yeah, I am really glad you pulled over." Her hand was warm against my skin, simple touch, but it felt like electricity. "Me too," I said. Inside the diner, it was warm and bright. The smell of coffee and burgers filled the air. A waitress led us to a booth by the window. We sat across from each other, but it did not feel like distance. It felt like tension, the good kind. As we looked at the menus, we both laughed at the same time. "What?" she asked. "I was just thinking." I said, "If your car had not broken down, we would have met like normal people." "And now?" "Now it feels like a story we will tell one day." She smiled slowly. "You sound very sure of that." "I am not sure of anything," I said honestly, "but tonight feels different." She studied me again like she was trying to decide something important. The waitress came to take our order, and we both ordered coffee even though it was late. When we were alone again, Emma leaned forward on the table. "Can I ask you something honest?" she said. "Always." "Would you have stopped if you were not on your way to meet me?" That question hit deeper than she probably expected. I thought about it carefully. "Yes," I said finally. "I would have stopped." She held my gaze for a long moment, searching for any sign of a lie. I did not look away. "Good," she said softly, "because that matters." We talked for hours. About small things at first, favorite movies, worst dates, childhood memories, then deeper things. Fears, regrets, hopes. At one point, she reached across the table and brushed her fingers against mine without even noticing. Neither of us pulled away. Time moved fast. The diner slowly emptied around us. Outside the window, the night grew quieter. I realized something as I watched her laugh at one of my bad jokes. I was not thinking about impressing her anymore. I was not worried about saying the perfect thing. I just wanted to know more about her. Every small detail. But somewhere in the back of my mind, a small fear started to grow. What if this was just a perfect first night? What if tomorrow reality stepped in and made it complicated? Because the way she was looking at me now, with that soft smile and bright eyes, made me feel like this was not just a random blind date anymore. It felt like the beginning of something I was not ready to lose. And I had a feeling that losing her would hurt more than I expected. By the time we walked out of the diner, the parking lot was almost empty. The neon lights flickered behind us and the air felt cooler than before. It was past midnight, but neither of us looked tired. If anything, I felt more awake than I had in months. Emma wrapped her arms around herself as we walked toward my truck. I noticed the way she stayed close to me, like it was natural, not forced. Just easy. "That was the fastest 3 hours of my life," she said. I was just thinking the same thing. We reached the truck, but neither of us opened the doors right away. We just stood there under the dim parking lot light. The night was quiet. Too quiet. It felt like something important was about to happen. "So," she said softly, "is this the part where we awkwardly say goodnight?" I smiled, but my heart was racing. "Only if you want it to be." She looked at me for a long moment. Her eyes were not playful anymore. They were serious, searching. "I do not want tonight to end," she admitted. Those words hit me hard. I stepped a little closer to her, close enough that I could see every detail of her face. The way her lashes cast small shadows on her cheeks. The way her lips parted slightly when she breathed. "Then it does not have to," I said quietly. She swallowed and looked down for a second, then back up at me. "Jake, I need to tell you something." The tone in her voice made my chest tighten. "What is it?" Quote. She took a deep breath. "The reason my last relationship ended was not just because he was not right for me. It ended because I found out he was still in love with someone else. I was the safe choice. The easy one. I promised myself I would never be someone's second option again. Her words were calm, but I could feel the weight behind them. "You will never be a second option to me," I said without hesitation. She studied my face, looking for doubt. I did not give her any. "I barely know you," she said softly. "I know," I answered, "but I know how I feel right now, and I know I have not felt this in a long time." The wind picked up slightly, moving her hair across her face. Without thinking, I reached up and gently brushed it away. My fingers touched her cheek for just a second. She did not pull back. Instead, she leaned into my hand. That small movement changed everything. The air between us felt heavy, charged. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. I moved closer, slowly, giving her time to step away if she wanted to. She did not. Her hand came up and rested against my chest. I could feel her palm over my heart. "It is beating really fast," she whispered. "So is yours," I replied. For a second, we just stood there like that. No words. Just the quiet understanding that this was not just attraction. It was something deeper, something that had built itself in a few short hours. Then she pulled back slightly. "There is one more thing," she said. I felt a sudden wave of worry. "What?" She hesitated, and that hesitation scared me more than anything else that night. "My ex works in Austin," she said. "He has been texting me since he found out I moved here. He says he wants to fix things. I have ignored him, but he does not give up easily." Quote, the warmth in my chest shifted into something protective. "Does he know where you live?" I asked. "Yes, but he has not shown up or anything. It is just messages. Still, I hate that it follows me." I could see the frustration in her eyes, the fear she was trying not to show. "You do not have to deal with that alone," I said firmly. She looked at me like she wanted to believe that. "You just met me," she said. "Maybe," I replied, "but I am not going anywhere." She searched my face again, and this time I saw something change in her expression. Like a wall inside her shifted slightly. Before I could say anything else, headlights flashed at the entrance of the parking lot. A black SUV pulled in slowly. Emma's body went stiff. I felt it instantly. She did not have to say a word. "Is that him?" I asked quietly. Her eyes stayed locked on the SUV. "It looks like his car." My jaw tightened. The SUV parked a few spaces away. The driver door opened. A tall man stepped out. Even from a distance, I could see the confidence in the way he moved. Too confident. Emma's fingers grabbed the front of my shirt lightly. "I did not tell him where I was," she whispered. The man started walking toward us. Every instinct in me told me to step in front of her. So I did. When he got closer, his eyes moved from Emma to me. "Emma," he called out. "We need to talk." Her grip on my shirt tightened. "There is nothing to talk about," she said, her voice steady but low. He ignored me at first, like I was not even there. "I have been trying to reach you. You cannot just disappear like that." "She does not owe you anything," I said calmly. His eyes finally locked onto mine. "And who are you?" he asked. I felt Emma step closer behind me. "I am the guy she is with tonight," I answered. Silence filled the space between us. He let out a small laugh. "That was fast." Emma stepped out from behind me then. "It does not matter how fast," she said. "It matters that I am done." The man's expression changed. The confidence faded into something darker. "You are making a mistake," he told her. "No," she replied firmly. Staying was the mistake. Quote, for a second, I thought he might argue more, but instead he just looked at me again, measuring, judging. Then he shook his head and walked back to his SUV. As his car drove away, I felt Emma's body relax. She turned to me slowly. "I am sorry," she said. "This is not how I wanted tonight to go." I looked at her and realized something important in that moment. This was not just about romance. It was about choice, about her choosing something new, something better. "You did not ruin anything," I said softly. Her eyes filled with emotion, not tears, but something close. "You stayed," she whispered. "I told you," I said. "I am not going anywhere." She stepped closer to me again. This time there was no hesitation, no fear. When I kissed her, It was not rushed. It was slow, certain, like both of us understood what it meant. But deep down, I knew something else too. That man was not the kind who gives up easily. And loving Emma might mean fighting harder than I ever expected. When I kissed her, the world felt quiet in a way I had never felt before. Not empty, not silent, just calm, like something inside me had finally settled. Emma held onto my jacket, her fingers gripping the fabric like she did not want me to disappear. When we pulled back, she rested her forehead against my chest. "I did not expect this tonight," she whispered. "Neither did I said. And that was the truth. I had expected awkward small talk, maybe a polite hug at the end. I had not expected broken cars, ex-boyfriends, or a kiss that felt like a promise. We stood there for a few more seconds before she looked up at me again. "I should probably go home," she said softly. "Yeah," I replied, even though I did not want to let her go. We drove back to where her car was parked on the highway. It started without a problem. I followed behind her the whole way to her apartment, just in case. When she pulled into her complex, she parked and got out. I parked beside her and stepped out too. The building lights glowed warm against the dark sky. She walked toward me slowly. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For stopping, for staying, for not running when things got messy." I stepped closer. "You are worth staying for?" She smiled in a way that made my chest feel tight again, not from fear this time, from hope. "Can I see you tomorrow?" I asked. She did not even hesitate. "Yes." That one word felt bigger than it should have. Before she went inside, she reached up and kissed me again, this time softer, slower, like she wanted to remember it. When she finally walked toward her door, she looked back once and waved. I stayed there until she disappeared inside. The drive home felt different from the drive earlier that night. I was not nervous anymore. I was thinking about her laugh, the way she looked at me when she said she was done with her ex, the strength in her voice. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. I checked my phone immediately. There was a message from her. "Good morning, I hope you slept. Last night felt like something out of a movie." I smiled at my screen like an idiot. "I did not sleep much," I typed back. "I kept thinking about you." Her reply came fast. "Me too." The rest of the day moved slowly. I worked at the shop, but my mind kept drifting. Around noon, she texted again. "He just messaged me. He said he saw us kiss." My hands tightened around my phone. "What did you say?" I asked. I told him it was none of his business. I blocked him after that. Relief washed over me. "You do not have to be scared of him," I told her. "I am not," she replied. "Not anymore." That evening, I picked her up again. This time, there was no broken car, no highway. Just her standing outside her building with a soft smile. We went for a walk along Lady Bird Lake. The sunset painted the sky orange and pink. The water reflected the light like glass. As we walked, our hands brushed against each other until finally I just held hers. She squeezed back without saying anything. "I keep thinking about something," she said after a while. "What?" "If my car had not broken down, we would have met inside that diner like strangers." "Yeah, but instead you saw me at my worst first." I smiled. "And you still showed up." She stopped walking and turned to face me. "I am done running from things that scare me," she said, "and you scare me." I felt my heart jump. "Why?" "Because this feels real, and real things can hurt." I stepped closer and lifted her chin gently so she would look at me. "They can," I agreed, "but they can also change your life." She searched my face again like she had done the night before. Then she nodded slowly. "I want to try," she said. Those words meant more than she probably knew. Weeks passed. Then, months. Her ex tried to reach her a few more times, but she ignored him. Eventually, he stopped. The fear that once followed her faded. We built something steady. Not rushed, not perfect, just honest. Some nights we would drive past the stretch of highway where her car had broken down. Every time she would laugh and shake her head. "That stupid fuel line," she would say. I would squeeze her hand and smile. One night, about 6 months later, we parked there on purpose. The sky was clear and full of stars. She leaned against my truck and looked at me. "You know," she said, "that was the best breakdown of my life." Quote. I laughed. Mine too. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a small silver keychain. It was shaped like a tiny wrench. "I got this for you," she said, "to remind you that sometimes the things that break lead you exactly where you need to be." I took it from her and felt something heavy in my chest. Not fear, not nerves, love. "I pulled over because you looked like you needed help," I said softly. She stepped closer. "I did," she replied. I just did not know it yet. Under that same stretch of dark sky where we first met, I kissed her again, only this time I was not wondering what might happen next. I already knew. Sometimes, the right person does not enter your life in a perfect moment. Sometimes she is standing on the side of the road, frustrated and late, and you decide to stop. And that simple choice changes everything.